Dominikas.
I'm Danas.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I program.
I used to do more of the art things, but now this is his job.
Yeah, Jokubas, the artist, and game designer Danas, basically the lead.
Yeah, the usual story of the indie developers. Like we do a lot of things.
And we have 3 guys missing.
Yeah, two programmers. I don't know if they wanted us to say their names, so let's just call them the guys.
The guys.
And yeah, and the latest member, our composer and now sound designer.
Yeah.
So shall we start taking in some questions?
Yeah, sure, we can start.
Will there be any sort of transportation, such as ferry or railroad track with carts or zip line to travel faster between a point to another?
I guess a word like railroad has been tossed around in our office because there are a lot of like Factoria fans. So that's not out of the question. Yeah, we're definitely thinking about different ways how to add like more different movement.
I think there's a very nice possibility of having one directional movement. So then then that kind of puts an like emphasis on your layout of the city. So yeah, zip lines is a good idea, or something like in Oxygen not included the
Firefighter
poles. Yeah.
Or some like tubes like slides.
Yeah, slides.
Yeah.
We've been talking about these things for a while.
I saw a stream yesterday where people were joking around about water slides. Very expensive because water is expensive in our game, but yeah, freshwater slides.
Will there be a way to assign a specific citizen to a specific house? Maybe simply by being able to assign a house to a production building.
So a house rework is like is coming soon, but we haven't decided if there's gonna be like this micromanagement. I think Dominikas once said that we can just have like maybe a policy that reshuffles your city in the most optimal way where you don't have to think about it. But we can also think about ways where if a player wants to micromanage, then yeah, sure, let's give you the option to do that.
One thing to note, we are very optimistic and we're very creative right now in this Q&A. 90% of things might not be implemented.
Yeah.
Full disclaimer.
Or they might be implemented, let's say, 2 years after the release.
Yeah. So one of the ideas is to have a scenario where you control only one guy, one citizen, who's very buffed up. So naturally, you would like to have a direct control over that citizen. So directly assigning where it sleeps and works should be done in a different way than it is done right now, just because it's very tedious to click on a building and click plus and click a minus elsewhere. So yeah, we're thinking about that. And if a player wants to micromanage their 60 citizens at once and know where they sleep and work, which is kind of a order thing, then we might have an order-like policy to enable that.
I wish you could change between some features like legacy, modern, like the priority system.
Oh, we have a solution for that. Yeah. First of all, it was done in a hurry, not the best colors. Simply to move away from red color, and we want to leave that color for the bad things and stress parameters and things like that. But yeah, we talked about it, and I guess we can allow a lot of customization in our game, even without like modding tools, and we will just expose all the colors, and you can do whatever you want with that. So yeah, that's not gonna be a problem.
The Junknado, will there be any way to protect our massive buildings from it, or a way to turn the event off? I wouldn't want a random pile of wood landing on top of a massive building and destroying anything.
I guess Junknado was our first, experiment with actually destroying something, and so we're gonna take your feedback and try and make some kind of improvements for such events. Even right now, we're experimenting with better ways to let the player, maybe anticipate somehow or prepare for such disasters.
Quickly solve these things.
Yeah, because before the Junknado and the floating collapsers, we didn't have that in the game. So this is like our first try at it. So we it's better for us to experiment with the stuff right now than release a game with undercooked features.
Will you rework that wind turbine and water wheel need person to operate? I think wind turbine and the water wheel should be able to operate on their own.
Electricity in general is gonna be reworked. As far as wind turbines and water wheels, wind turbines, they might just get a visual change, or depending on how we rework the electricity, we might not need to just remove the workplace. The water wheel, everyone agrees that it's annoying because of the changing water levels. That's just like a separate problem, and the way that we're gonna solve it is by removing the water wheel as a way to generate electricity from water and just add a new building for it. So something like a really tall building that it oscillates together with the waves. And maybe we will leave the water wheel as a way to generate electricity from rain, because it sounds cool and it kind of makes sense.
I love the little raft addition when people are joining your colony. Will there be any other interactive event like this? Like a massive cargo ship that runs around and you have to scavenge it before it sinks. Something more visual than just events popping up.
Yeah, so with this update, we try to move more of our events on the map and such, world objects. So adding more of them is something that we want to do for the full release. But as far as having like a massive cargo ship that you have to disassemble or explore, that's gonna be a bit more difficult. I guess Dominicus could probably make a better prediction if we will have it for the full game.
It could be it should be made out of pieces, and making it out of pieces would create some of the challenges. I think it could come as a separate, I don't know, maybe a scenario, or if we have time to set things up in a way that it's easy to assemble, like a multiple piece thing coming into your city. We don't have individual pieces floating around yet, but we really want to experiment with that. So that would be a second step after small pieces having multiple pieces floating around together. So that could be one of the things. But of course, like moving these like floating abstract popping up events into the world feels very nice, just because it ties things together. And we had like funny bug reports with the floating raft where people would just, instead of accepting or rejecting the people, the boat would come in, or people would come in and just gather up the resources that were on that object, and it would despawn. So yeah, it has a lot of interesting emergent mechanics and possibilities, and we just recently started like developing with them since they appeared in this demo.
Will there be a way to train workers to do some of the engineer jobs? I don't mean that they should be able to replace the engineers in the research lab, but I think that the workers should be able to operate crane.
Yeah, it's always possible to add this as an option. I guess we're still trying to make those groups distinct and unique from one another, and giving them at least small amount of buildings where only they can operate, kind of helps to separate them. We can just someday test this and see if players, just want to do that. Because another way is to basically just convert one person from one group to another. That's something that is possible right now.
One of the design consideration, not a decision. If the engineers have their cranes, sailors they have their bows, and they can gather from the sea, to give workers an option to get resources from the sea, like not replace them, but they kind of do this similar things but differently with different effects, but your resources are not left out for you or something like that. This is just like yesterday we talked about this or some sort. It's like making them not equal, but not leaving out whole part of a game if you're only playing with, like, for example, workers, and you have things on the sea.
Would it be possible to expand the map area?
Basically, yeah, we already have those tools. This is how we actually build our maps with the concrete foundations. There are some legacy buildings like wooden also foundations and metal steel, but I don't think if those are gonna be in the full game. But the concrete ones, yeah, this is something that you will unlock as a final like support structure. And also you'll be able to use all the tools that we use in the sandbox mode that you will get in the full game.
Will there be an option to rebuild old world buildings? Example, building old world windows, walls, supports, beams, etc. Just anything from the old world.
That depends like what do you expect to build the same walls that you see in the world, or like build more advanced houses, like brick houses, because the environment, at least right now, it's left as something that you can deconstruct and interact more like a resource. But I guess we can always like add those tools as a support buildings, and you can just paint over them.
I think there's a merit in not being able to reconstruct what's already in the map, so you kind of get a reward for like preserving what's already there, and of course in a sandbox mode then it's available. I guess we could have a special scenario where you play with that. Could be interesting. I don't know, maybe some sort of a before the apocalypse scenario where you're just casually building like basic structures. Maybe it's told in a like some sort of a story being told way.
How strong are the steel and concrete blocks compared to the metal?
Do we want to pull out the editor? I can't remember from the top of my head, but steel and concrete are way stronger. And we just recently talked about making the concrete and the whole level in general a little bit weaker, just because to make the things fall more often. Those materials are made to be something basically unbreakable just by force from the regular structures. But we need to level them down and just make them more balanced and more have more interactions with the game, because the stronger they get, the less they interact with the game. So we have to do things like happen now, the corrosion thing, like the, I don't want to say the work in progress title of the event, like shit is falling, but those things that destroy your base are made in a way which was kind of hacked in just to break anything. And breaking anything, we had to break anything just because the concrete was so strong. And yeah, the metal corrosion is the things that spawn after Junknado or during Junknado. So these are kind of they try to tell you a story of a corrosion and just big piece getting stuck into your city.
Talking of concrete, will it allow us to build our own concrete base at the bottom of the sea and expand where we want and how we want?
Yeah, so that was basically previous question, if you can expand your base. So yeah, concrete is still gonna be like really strong, and it will allow you to not just lay the we call it foundation. It's something that you just place on the water level, and then you place everything on top of it, and you will both get the foundation structures and those like really strong cores that can support a lot of stuff.
Can you give us a little more information on what will the shipyard be used for?
Basically, during our first demo release, boats were like this unique unit, and we didn't want to just easily give it to the player because the resources work differently. Like the old players will know like how they work, and basically because we couldn't just let you build them as buildings, it wasn't possible back then. the shipyard was basically like a building where you could build more additional boats. But I think that the shipyard in a full game will get probably like a new function. The original idea was that it can lift the whole boat and just unload instantly its cargo. It was at one point it was also like a concept for it was that it could be like a trading port or something like that. But yeah, it will have to basically get a new identity because now you can just build boats like buildings.
Will there be any submarine diving in the future, like scavenge stuff that's underwater, or send boats on expeditions?
Probably not in the full game. We this idea would require us to think of like a lot of new systems and mechanics, I guess. And yeah, it would probably be developed after the release as some kind of like major update. We're open to such ideas because we want to expand this game, but right now we're focusing on the base game.
Cranes are supposed to be some of the things that can reach a little bit
Yeah.
deeper. So we want to give them that identity since they're very limited with what they can gather.
Does the map have something of a main foundation or bedrock layer under everything else that connects all foundation and is causing stress calculation from fully separated constructs to influence each other?
Hi, Adrian.
That's a very very specific question. I can answer that.
Yeah.
No, there's no bedrock layer. It's just all foundations, and they just happen to connect to each other sometimes. But we haven't optimized calculating separate islands just because eventually it will all be connected to a single island and you still get lagged out. So we're just paying the price, like everybody pays the same price when playing the game, and we just have to optimize it like broadly instead of like eventually we might optimize that since sometimes there are islands that you never reach. That's fine, we can leave them out, but right now there are no concept of islands in the physics system. It's just all thrown up together, calculated, bet out.
Will we be able to trigger a party or banquet or whatever else event to give certain type of bonus for our citizens for X number of days?
The idea of timed like bonuses or buffs is an old one, but again, I think that we'll probably focus for the full game on what we have, and we might introduce it after the release. But yeah, it's an interesting concept, and definitely, yeah, we talked about it. I think that we can still create some kind of like a unique building where you can maybe trigger that party and get some kind of bonus, but not as a timed one.
Is there a possibility to continue playing on the current map after all people are dead? For example, new people come on a raft and start living on the island that the player have already built.
Yes, because I'm lazy. I should have put some kind of
And keep
harder
speed.
checks, but right now, yeah. If you just wait, they should come, I think.
Will there be more map types, for example, abandoned government project or old oil rig?
There's basically a how's it?
Whiteboard.
Yeah, whiteboard with all the different scenarios. I don't know if we can show it.
Just quick.
Okay, just quickly. And basically, to make a thematic scenario with just different assets, let's say like a rocky mountain top, or some kind of bridge, or a big like factory or an oil rig. It's something we consider easy, and it's definitely gonna be in the full game. And on the whiteboard we have like way crazier stuff written down. Something like I don't know. Which one can we?
Maybe the one that I'm gonna do.
The Atlantis.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot ones where you just basically a scenario where you have to blast inside the building through the walls. It's like you're basically isolated from the inside, no, you're outside and you basically can't do anything and you have to just keep blasting, and then you trigger another explosive and that collapses part of the building, and that's just a map. We have an idea for like no sunlight, only disasters. Yeah, that's what we consider like a more interesting scenario.
More mature.
Yeah, even today I did like a basic test if we can give you a fully built map and then give you explosives, and basically you're role playing as an overthrown captain, and you're on the revenge mission and you're basically getting a higher score the more destruction you cause. It's stupid, you're gonna play it for one time, but it's something that we can have, and yeah, this is why it's cool to work on such a game, because we're not just making like waterworld type of game and that's gonna be it. We can completely remove the water and have something different.
Have hatred.
Will there be a currency system? I mean, like your citizens work for money.
One of the old ideas was that junk could be like a default currency, but I think we moved away from that a bit. So maybe goods could fill that role somewhat, but I think we don't want to make a game with some type of like currency. Like in Fallout they have bottle caps, but a bit different game. But we can always come up with a scenario where we just use one of the resources, the same junk, and just say, hey, this is the currency, and now you're playing a bit different game.
I think in such like resource-oriented games, having a global currency kind of takes away from the challenge of converting one resource to another. And notice that something like Factorio doesn't have any kind of a meta resource. You just have to make something more of a something. And our goal is to give you puzzles that you have to solve all the time. And having a currency might take away some of the puzzles from you, just because you can buy things.
Kind of food and water is kind of the currency right
Yeah,
now.
we have like I think that's a good thing that we have many currencies. Like you have food and water for like buffing your people, also food and water for leisure, for happiness. You buy happiness with food and water. Then you can buy some happiness or influence with junk or goods. And then you can buy production eventually with tools and goods. So there's like each resource is its own currency.
Would love to know if there is going to be a faction system or not.
Probably not in a full game, yeah. But we thought about it enough that we didn't change our social group naming to factions, because we thought that factions actually means what you just said, like pirate faction, cannibal faction, things like that. So we're leaving that word for the future, some kind of update or expansion.
Would there be like a net, and also will there be like a resource storms like Junknado, but have like resources go with the current? Then you can use the nets to hold the piles.
Yeah, sometimes we read like the feedback and think that there's a microphone somewhere in this office and like your guys just listening, because we just started experimenting with not nets but something that can trap the resources and
shifting objects in the water or something like that.
So yeah, just wait. We're experimenting with that.
Are there events planned to disable buildings temporarily?
Probably. Can we disable a building right now?
Through events, not, but we can apply technology that applies buffs, and then we can basically.
But can you program a disable graph node?
Sure.
Yeah, we can.
There are some problems with that. There's some problems with rain catchers. Imagine you had to assign people to rain catchers, or you had a mega rain catcher. Then you would either unassign people when there's no rain, or just deconstruct it entirely. And I guess people don't deconstruct rain catchers just because they don't take up the much needed space, and also like just that would be just too tedious to set them up again, because in a sense it would be optimal play to only deconstruct ring catchers and construct when you need them or when you don't need them. So there's a kind of a design difficulty with whether entirely disabling buildings, because then you have to kind of work around that, and it might introduce too much tedium. So there's always a balance. We can have like a reduced production of sun boilers. I guess that's fine. I don't know. It depends. There's like a little bit of friction, uh, being able to disable something fully. So we need to be really considerate around those ideas. But yeah, we want some weather to have more impact, and maybe you overextend into using too much sun, too much rain catchers, too much something that's dependent on weather, and then the weather never comes. So maybe we need to have some moments where you're unable to build or assign people. It's We need to think about these things, and yeah, right now we just want to have good production chains, I guess, and play with the resource spawning, fix that, and fix the physics.
Has any of you, by any chance, played Mindustry or Satisfactory?
I played a little bit of Mindustry and just few levels, but I like the Factorio more, so sorry. And no Satisfactory.
A little bit of Satisfactory, but yeah, more of a research for 3D building, like building in 3D space. Yeah, Factorio is better.
I should only watch Satisfactory from Let's Game It Out.
Let's game it out if you're watching.
Yeah.
We're gonna watch you more.
Yeah.
Once you select the Beacon of Hope, instead of the Trader Outpost or skip the Cannibal Hut event, there's no longer a way to get them. Is there any plan to maybe let us unlock them in the research tree?
Yeah, so that quest, that event is designed in a way that it, like, at least for now, it forces you to choose something on like extreme spectrums. But yeah, I think we agree that at some point it would be cool if you could pick both. But if, let's say, you picked a slave trading route at first, and then you decided, hey, like, I'm gonna place a beacon of hope, then that should probably introduce some kind of like additional events, and probably with some kind of unexpected outcomes, because now you're basically cheating people that, hey, this is like a safe haven, but actually you're trading people, so there should be some kind of consequences. But yeah, we'll think of ways how we can introduce ways to get those buildings later on.
Out of curiosity, will there be non-standard shaped home buildings in the future?
Yeah. The first buildings that you start with here are intentionally kind of simple, cubic, and just to help people acclimatize. But we're working on more like interesting shapes that weirdly connect to each other. We have to almost like in a Tetris that you could make a circles. I really want to make things don't look like cubically, like to more organic. Like I like round shapes. I like shapes. Long shapes, wide. Yeah, as you said, like they're all already L-shaped buildings. Of course, there's one L-shaped building with a rounded end, so you can make it a bit more like a balcony. So yeah, to answer you, we're definitely thinking about unique, interesting shapes, and they are kind of the part of the puzzle, and they're also kind of the part of the interest in a building, and it's gonna give some homage to like Tetris or sorts of things like that.
I think you've made one building that goes beyond just Tetris shapes.
Yeah, of course, not only Tetris shape, but I'm just Tetris adjacent, but yeah, there's gonna be a lot more shapes. Definitely. I want to reiterate, definitely.
You mentioned earlier that you'd like the players to solve puzzles. such as resource conversion or bridge building. Is that a big thing in your design? More generally interested in the vibe you're going for.
I guess so. Yeah, we since day one we thought that this the the building in 3D would be like a sort of a like puzzle, uh, even without physics. If you have interesting layouts and you need some kind of pathing to those buildings, that's a puzzle in itself. You add physics to that, that's another puzzle. You add resources and logistics, that's another puzzle, and but it just keeps piling on.
Definitely one of the vibes with that we kind really like that turned out to be in this game is like the organic nature of the construction, the way you're just because you have like this separated islands, not enough space, you're building on top next to each other, you don't know what you're gonna unlock, maybe, or still don't have unlocked, still haven't gotten to another island, so you're building around buildings here, then building there, and it becomes like this like organically built city. And that doesn't matter how much usually if people just play naturally, they're gonna look like the concepts do. That's something that we actually really adore, and yeah, it's a thing we're gonna keep and even expand probably.
Will you allow decorations go in the middle of buildings and then adding on to that? Will there be decorations with a purpose?
Again, someone put a microphone in our office.
Yeah, more or less.
For the decorations going in the middle of the buildings, I, I don't really understand the question.
I think they mean that you have a house and you can put something in.
Oh, like decorating a house.
Inside the house, I guess. Like, I don't know, if you had an open house, you would just, I don't
An
They're
open
not-
house.
I think that goes against the city building aspect. We don't want to build like we want to use space, and if we build inside the houses, then we're not using space, and that's not very interesting. And like the going to the previous question, everything has to be a puzzle. So house decorations also is a emergent puzzle where you have to solve pathing nearby houses and how you put all of the decorations around the house. Also, we want to have larger cities, so we want to have some sort of a decorations that rather, instead of going inside, they go outside, and then things are being placed around them, so they form some sort of a I don't know,
Garden.
district's garden, yeah. And the
Yeah.
other thing about plants, I really like the opposition that we have right now. So when you go outside to the nature, like to the national park or somewhere, there's like trees everywhere. You don't care about them. When you are in the city, trees matter more. Like somebody cuts down an old tree, you suddenly your like street looks different just because one tree fell down. So in this post-apocalyptic world setting, even the smallest tree is a big
Advantage.
advantage.
Luxury.
Big luxury, yeah. So I personally would like to see trees and soil being the high end of the tech tree, where you have covered the basics, the sustainability, and then you try building trees and making like a Garden of Eden for people.
Or you can hang people in your garden.
I guess
That's also an option in our game. It depends on the player.
So what are you planning to do about the current build system, where it's kind of broken, in my opinion?
Yeah, so physics used to be more broken. Now they're less broken. They're entirely differently written. Like the example that was given, placing a support triangle, it has much more volume and it's much heavier than the path. So that could be one of the reasons why they're breaking. We are aware that there isn't enough information, and the information isn't too nice for the players to understand when they're building. So we want to improve the display of the like stress information, like we have to explore that, how we can show that the things have been improved or gotten worse when you build something. I think like we don't really explain that well, so we need to work on that. Other thing is we have some legacy decisions made with the system where all of the buildings now now connect through sockets, like these dots, small squares that appear when you build something. This will probably go away because it creates more problems than provides solutions. Like we used to have, it's no secret. We used to have beams. We used to have beams that you draw like in a bridge builder. So we started with those, and those were entirely just sockets, just lines of sockets, those like small dots. But now we don't have them anymore, and now it's more favorable to use the voxels themselves that we have in the game. Like if you have a square box, then each side is connecting rather than it's someplace sockets, and that will allow us to have a better balance with the parts, because sockets now can be shared between corners, and then you get double the sockets. So sometimes things break, sometimes they don't, just because you got shared sockets.
Sometimes I miss to place one, or I didn't place them and suddenly something doesn't work. One of the examples was like someone reported that, hey, I'm not getting the upgrade from the modular upgrade. And I looked at it and said, like, you should get it. And it turns out that that building just didn't have enough sockets. But visually it should get it. So yeah, so it introduces such problems.
Yeah, so we're gonna revisit that again and again and again until it feels good, because it's part of our game. Yeah. So next step is getting rid of sockets and improving the visual things first.
Is there any plan to change the way storage are managed today?
We weren't aware that storages are by themselves, that warehouses are by themselves that useful, so you don't have to assign people to them. I guess it could be solved in a different ways. We could get rid of workplace on a warehouse and just add another workplace, which is I don't know, storage post, where a guy just runs around and moves things. The main thing is that you have to build a building where you assign people and they work there. I guess that's one of our core like mechanics, and we don't really want to change that. For example, if you've played Banished, you have a whole table of professions and you just assign people to professions. We didn't want that because that takes away from logistics in the city. When you assign people directly to buildings, you know that there's going to be two persons working at that building and they're gonna be moving resources around. And warehouses were added to help to move those resources between buildings that need them. There's some issues with logistics and citizens, like they don't plan on bringing resources, and they don't look at the resources that are being brought. So one of the things that we need to add is a little bit of ahead planning. Then the logistics might get a little bit better. But I don't know if having an unassigned warehouse is an issue, then we could either add an option to hide specific workplace unassigned citizen bubble, the 02 thing, or add a warehouse without workplace, or like we could have more storage units. I don't know, vertical storage units.
Yeah, I think we talked about that. Actually, a warehouse was back in the day just a big storage, and at some point we said, hey, like we would want to add people that carry stuff, and the quickest way was to just repurpose that big storage. So maybe now is a good time to look at it again and just say, hey, maybe that should become a large storage with no assignable workplaces, and then add another, like a proper warehouse with a lot of workplaces where you can just assign 10 people and they will just work with a priority. So yeah, that's something that we can do.
Are you thinking about making changes to logistics in general? I would love to have more direct control over material flow.
Like directly, one of our core design things is that you get what you see. If you see a city with warehouses, then that's it. Like the buildings is the main one of the main characters of the city, and if you see a warehouse building, then you know that it's gonna be moving resources. You don't see the priority set on the warehouse, sadly, but we try to make the game that you can understand what's going on in the city from the screenshot. So being able to drag an imaginary line between buildings would kind of break that rule that we want to set. One of the things with logistics that we also want to improve is to visualize how the resources we expect to move. So that could kind of help you to like indirectly place those lines. Like you select a, I don't know, wood boiler, and you see that the wood comes from the storage, wood comes from the wood catcher, and goes to the water storage. That's kind of lines you get but you don't directly control, and maybe you move the wood boiler elsewhere, and then you suddenly see that the wood boiler will prioritize outputting to another water storage just because it's closer. So yeah, that will happen automatically, and then the city will tell you the story how it works instead of everything being like hidden. So for priority, we could have a little flag with the symbol of the warehouse, so you can always see what's the priority of the building is.
Would that be the same for workers, like where they went?
The lines would tell where the workers go. As for the workers themselves, we want to add some sort of a social interactions to them. So I guess that could be part of the question. We used to talk about heat maps where the people will go, and maybe add some sort of a congestion avoidance so people don't try going around congested places. So that would have to be visualized to be understandable, but nothing special for citizens. Right now they just walk, they try to avoid each other while they pathing, and yeah, they will need to plan where to put resources better.
Will storage get back filters for specific resources, or will we get specific resource storages?
Unless something broke, but we have filters.
They should be there. If they're not, please make a bug report. Yeah, they were supposed to be there. We did some tweaks with the storages because like gathering HUDs have storage components, and they were not deployed. Oh, too bad.
We will check, but
Yeah.
the filter should be. Maybe it's locked until you research warehouse. That might be the case.
Any idea of what the next happiness buff will be, and more happiness making buildings?
That's a good question.
Yeah, we have few locked currently that are not available in the demo, but I think with the introduction of buff buildings, like the upgrade buildings, and the unique buildings, it's also something like we didn't have way back. We will have to probably rebalance the happiness, the perks, and when do you get what? Because now we can come up with way more interesting stuff, and push the player a bit more into like rushing maybe one group.
There also is the social leisure section. Yeah,
Yeah, the social. Yeah,
that's basically a whole section of buildings meant for happiness, more or less.
Have you thought about implementing something like batteries to store energy?
electricity is getting a rework. Let's leave it at that. A bit of a lore of our game. Way back, people used to carry electricity in their hands as a resource. Yeah.
Little lightning bolts.
Yeah, so the resource used to be teleported between buildings automatically. Then we implemented carrying resources, and that electricity was carried. So everything was in batteries.
Can we merge all boats into one?
I don't know, maybe that can be some kind of sailor's top perk where they just get this super boat.
And that also kind of goes against the you don't see what the boat does.
Yeah.
Previous question was how do you manage these things? Basically, that's how you manage these things, by having those separate types of gathering.
It could be like what stops you from building many boats for each resource is that you deplete those resources before they respawn. So if those resources were like a lot of those resources in the map, then you would have to choose which resources you want to get. You want to get 1 part of food and 5 parts of junk and 2 parts of wood. I don't know, to balance your economy. So you would build one fishing boat, 2 wood boats, and 5 junk boats. With the mega boat, you could also have a setting on mega boat, but would that be interesting?
I think few boats could get merged, for example, like maybe wood and junk, because it feels like it's something of a basic resource that you should be able to get more easily. But for more advanced boats, we were looking into actually adding like a cost for them to gather things and getting more advanced resources. So they would work like more of like a building that has a consumption, let's say fuel. It makes sense. And in that case, I guess that boat could gather like more advanced resources.
Will we have the upgrade button on platform from wood into metal? About bonus when consume more than 1 food, water, or goods, you should show the expect bonus immediately after.
The UI in that part, it's lacking, and we know most of the things regarding UI we're still we're not showing all the information, or maybe not in the best way. So that's definitely what we will improve. And as for the upgrading them, I'm trying to think of an easy way, because knowing that you can build a lot of, like, let's say, wooden blocks, that would be also tedious to go in and click an upgrade. So maybe some kind of like a paintbrush tool that would allow you to quickly upgrade, or maybe select a cluster of them, something like that. Because I guess it makes sense. You had one structure, and but maybe it defeats the purpose of having a builder game and not rebuilding stuff from time to time.
My question isn't about upcoming features, it's about you, people. Who are you? How long have you been doing this? What the ratio between bug fixing, feature dev, polishing, and other stuff?
Yeah, that's a loaded one. So thanks to Jokubas, our visual artist. The sound artist is sadly not here today. Yeah, he's probably making another sick soundtrack.
Or sleeping.
The broader vision for the game, I guess we wanna focus on a good, solid base for this game, so that we can release something well made, and then just build on top of it, if that makes sense. And for the
Who we are.
That can be a separate, like, probably devlog, the story about like how we started, and I don't know. What could be like the short answer? Who are we? You can start.
Mr. Lore, I don't know. Yeah, that's a good answer. I don't know. We haven't discussed how much we want to share though.
Yeah.
But we made some games before. We made me and Danas. Previously, we were working on.
We met in the first grade.
Okay. Yeah. We're like
long time
friends since primary school. Yeah, and we worked on some games, and
I joined in when All Will Fall was already in development.
Yeah, like I can talk about like how we met with Jokubas, and that was first year of when we were still looking for a publisher, and we were just going to these local game dev events, and I would just have a few beers to kill the social anxiety, and then I would just go randomly to people and ask like, hey, do you know any 3D character, modelers and animators? And I think he was like the second person that I just, randomly asked, and he said, yeah, me.
Yeah,
And yeah, but we
And
didn't
it-
hire him as the first one because it took us over a year to find a good publishing deal. So shout out to Tiny Build. That's another like cool story, but sorry, I don't think we'll have enough time. And yeah, he still had like his projects to complete, and then we still hired him. So it was cool to hit him up and ask him like, hey, are you still interested? And he's like, hell yeah, just give me some
Yeah,
time.
brother.
I have to like finish my projects.
um,
And I don't know. Yeah, we should probably just make some video.
I'll probably publish the test character for the worker because it's really interesting. Let's say at least. Yeah, but or you're like Ooga Booga Man.
Oh yeah,
oh, those were cool.
a lot of old stuff that we will share probably after the game is released. That's gonna be interesting.
Any plans on increasing the height limit again? Please, I need it so badly.
Oh, yes, this.
Is there a height limit on camera, or like how high you can build?
No, it's just how high you can build. It's Mr. Banana.
But is it physics based or like somehow?
It's a hard limit, so you don't accidentally build into space or
Hmm.
or into horizon. So it's basically a box. We need to check because when you build high and wide, we create some textures in the game, and we don't want those textures to exceed some limits. Otherwise, things might go bad. The box, build horizontally. Find each corner of the box and then make a huge cage. Then we can increase the limits.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah, there's some technical reasons. Those are like those are not very important reasons, but we have to take up some work from other things to allow having unlimited space. So until we solve other things that kind of break the scale of the game, like physics calculations when the city is very big, I don't see why we should be making the allowed space larger. Just a tip: if you're building a very large platform, it will be more laggy than multiple small ones. So keep that in mind.
How were you guys thinking we would play your game?
Do whatever you want. That's how we're planning. That the idea is to express yourself, not to be constrained. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I think we all hate games that are overly designed and you can't like break the game. Like you just start feeling as a player that there's like the same kind of limit or invisible walls. I'm not talking about the height walls, that's something, sorry.
That's technical.
But yeah. But when you have you get like 5% increase in this or that, and then it never exceeds a certain amount, and you just start feeling it. So we enjoy making a game where people can break it in some stupid way, and that's fine.
Any plans to add more options in the paint mode?
This is probably related to the UI thing. Like that thing wasn't updated in any way for a very long time.
I wonder if it doesn't already work like that.
The deconstruction works like that, but
Mm.
I don't know about the painting. But we have like some kind of like an example of how that could work.
Probably a good answer to this question would be is that we're gonna have tools to make our lives easier to creating new environments and like scenarios. So we're gonna have like ease of use and tools and make shortcuts for ourselves, and everything's gonna be shared. I think, right?
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Yeah. So if something seems to be finicky, it's probably because we're just going towards that. Right now, we're focused on making the game balanced and fun.
From the technical perspective, we really try to implement tools inside of game instead of outside the game. Like we use Unity Engine, there are a lot of like possibilities to create editor tools and just do stuff outside the game. But when you're building inside the game, then we can you will be able to use those tools as a sandbox level creator, and sometimes those tools even become mechanics. Or
The idea is probably everything that we create, you will be able to replicate.
Roughly how long is the main event sequence supposed to last in the full game? 60 days? 90 or more?
Right now there is no answer, I guess, because it's not finished. We still have a few systems and mechanics that we will not reveal. I think even in the final release trailer, we want that to be a surprise.
Will you bring the half-step precision back in anyway?
In some way.
through bugs.
That was a bug, right?
I think it exists right now for some decorations.
It causes some problems if you're able to build off grid. Like, for context, if you know a path, it's made out of 4 boxes, so it's like 2 by 2, and theoretically you can build it by one box offset, and that not having that as a global grid brings you problems, because if you want to connect 2 bridges, suddenly they're offset by one half block, which is like even impassable by citizens. We used to have this early in the game, but we eventually started rounding those boxes up to 1 meter, which I think was a good decision. I think that's a path size. I don't know, maybe in level editor, if you really want to make some sort of a nice looking thing, that's possible eventually, but it kind of breaks gameplay because you need to reach those objects. You want people to walk all over them, and if they're one piece off, then it's really hard to place a path that connects to that place. So be cautious of that.
Is it feasible from technical side to have moving parts at all?
Kinda mentioned this about floating stuff.
We kinda have a rough version of it. A moving, like a moving island.
Huh.
Is that the question or not?
Yeah, well, like tugboats are related to moving floating objects, so eventually I think we should have them. There's some problems with tugboats, is how we designate where they tug things, and if they're automatic or if they're fully manual. But yeah, we think we need some ways to bring resources to the city, and it will depend how we approach this. And tugboats might be one of the things that enable other social groups to gather those resources. So yeah, we should work on those. Try implementing those and see how they work. Because yeah, that's a good thing. That's a good idea. Other idea, I don't know. Okay, we can share this. Maybe a harpoon house, but it's very similar to the crane. So it depends. We want to move resources more than they already move. giving player control how the resources float is I think is a good thing.
Are there plans for a visual facelift for the electric greenhouse?
I guess so. It's a really old like model, the electric greenhouse. It's basically like flat surfaces and a AC unit just shoved inside and kind of used as a prop. So yeah, I think you're working on like new interesting parts.
Yeah, work in progress. Yes. Basically, we're gonna go through everything and see what sticks and not sticks. Some things might be improved, some things gonna stay the same. But
Will there be power tools in the game?
We would probably need clarification because we talked about improving the visuals for the characters and their work. So it would be cool to see someone coming up with some kind of like tool and hammering the concrete or ripping the wood or I don't know, cutting the metal with those tools, and you see people carrying them, but maybe he's asking about building or
no, he's asking like when you try to do with both like the hammers thing. Would there be tools to disassemble concrete to get disassemble concrete buildings to get concrete to build concrete? Concrete is a sticky situation, to be honest. But we'll see.
I think we will like the concrete example is like a indirect thing that might happen through demolition huts or some sort of a building that enables your citizens that work there do some things. So we want to do all of the things through buildings because you directly control who works there. Well, kind of indirectly, but kind of how many people are working there. So if there's a demolition hut for a concrete, then a citizen who's working there will be able to do some things with concrete that other citizens might not be able to. So as for making things stronger, I think that's just a matter of having another kind of structure piece that you replace and make stronger there. We want it's more of an animation thing and more of a building thing. We don't want to add too many mechanics that could be implemented by the mechanics that we already have. So we have people that can be assigned into buildings mechanic, and then people gain some powers while working in that building mechanic. That isn't kind of here, kind of is. We want to expand on that, but not necessarily directly to give tools to each person.
Will there be pets available at some point to help with security and morale?
seagulls maybe. We'll see.
Could be a social group.
Social group.
Dogs, cats, sheep.
Sharkodile.
Sharkodile. Sharkodile faction.
Sharkodile. Yeah, don't forget to keep on interacting in Discord, YouTube, doesn't matter. We read as much as we can. We really like that you people are talking to us. Yes, it's really nice having a community. It's weirdly amazing. So thanks guys for being here.
Yeah, guys, thanks for the great questions, and we'll probably do another one after we have more stuff and we addressed some of the questions and issues brought up here today. So that's it. Keep breaking the game, keep reporting the bugs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
see ya.
See you guys
Bye bye.
in chat. Bye.